Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters of the People's National Movement, I know that we're excited to be here. I know that you're excited to represent your candidates, but you know at the People's National Movement, we always hold ourselves out at a higher standard. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, as it is customary, we do not begin any proceeding here without paying respect to the red, white, and black, and of course by paying our respect to God Almighty. Brothers and sisters, I ask you to stand still wherever you are, in whichever part of this country or whichever part of this globe that you may be. Once Trinbagonian blood runs in your veins, I ask you to stand still as we call upon, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Anthony Rose of the Republic Bank Exdous in our national anthem.
Welcome, and welcome to the PNM's meeting in Tunapuna. We are here, of course, Tunapuna is on board with Ford, and we are here just ready to start our political meeting in Tunapuna. We are happy to have you with us, our viewers, our listeners, and on stage we are having our national anthem being played now as we gear up to begin our meeting here. It's a wonderful time for the PNM because this is the time where we get to project our plans, we get to tell you, Trinidad and Tobago, what we aim to do for our country. This is a progressive time for Trinidad and Tobago, a very important time. Because at this time, you get to make a choice. You get to decide who leads your country. If you look at all of the geopolitical things happening around the world, especially with our largest trading partner, America, you know that this is a very important time for the world. And therefore, what we do in Trinidad and Tobago is equally important. So we are at a pivotal point in this country. We are at a time where we can either make a step forward, a huge step forward with the PNM, or if we make a different decision, it can affect the very way our children are raised in this country. So we are making this decision at this election time, not just for us, but for our children, the children of Trinidad and Tobago, the future of Trinidad and Tobago. We ask all of you, especially the undecided voters, we ask you to take a look at the entire scenario and make the best choice. We have a wonderful meeting lined up for you here in Tunapuna. PNM education at its best. You know that education has been a hallmark of PNM practice, and so tonight will be no exception. We have a wonderful lineup. Of course, we are on board with Ford, Esmond Ford, the Member of Parliament for this area, current and incoming, is here with us. We're going to hear from Minister Foster Cummings, who has done such wonderful work dealing with our young people and affording them opportunities for development. This is the PNM way. And certainly, we are going to hear from our Prime Minister Stuart Young, who is here to show us his vision of how we move forward and how we move forward as a team PNM. But we also have some surprises for you because you know the PNM likes to ensure that you get the best of the education and you get the best of the politicians that Trinidad and Tobago affords. So we have two surprises for you, so we are encouraging you. If you are locked on now, do not change from the station because the PNM is here, the PNM is going to educate you, the PNM is going to explain to you our vision for Trinidad and Tobago so that when you have to make your choice, you'll make a choice for a progressive government. You will make a choice for a government that is responsible. The PNM is ready and responsible. Ready and ready speaks to our passion for service. We love Trinidad and Tobago. The PNM has been at the foundation of Trinidad and Tobago's independence and republic status. And we are responsible. We are a government that understands how to carry this country forward. We have a track record, and we will not make irresponsible promises to you. Promises that even independent economic analysts can know that are not going to make sense to Trinidad and Tobago. We will not make decisions to lead this country down the wrong path. This is the PNM, and we have always been about country and service. We are passionate about Trinidad and Tobago. So we are ready, we are responsible, and we are in education mode, because democracy depends on an informed population. We want you to know the facts, we want you to know the truth, and we want you to make the right decision. And we know that patriotic and right-thinking citizens will make a decision for the People's National Movement. So we have an action-packed night ahead, ready to give you that information so that you can make your decision. We want especially our young people to be aware of the choices they have to make. So to you, our young people, some of you voting for the very first time. Some of our voters may have been 10 years old, may have been 8 years old, 9 years old when the PNM came into office in 2015. But you are now able to vote. You are now ready to make your choice. And we, the PNM, we want you to make the best choice. So we offer to you a slate of candidates, 41 quality candidates, and we want you to make the best choice about who you will choose. You'll hear some of them tonight. You'll hear from Esmond Ford, the MP for this area, and I'm sure MP Ford is going to speak about the way he has progressed the Tunapuna area, serving for 10 years as Member of Parliament and also Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, where he has served with distinction. You will hear from Minister Foster Cummings. Minister Foster Cummings has been doing human service for our young people, and that is extremely important. I myself, as Minister of Education, have worked closely with Minister Cummings, because those of our young citizens who do not do as well in the education sector, who may not for different reasons be able to capitalize on those experiences, that is where the Ministry of Youth Development and Service comes in. And I can tell you that this ministry has been a pivotal ministry. It is a first for Trinidad and Tobago. We've always had departments or divisions of ministries that deal with young people. But the former Prime Minister, and we have to give him kudos, the Honorable Keith Rowley, Dr. Keith Rowley, he saw the need in this time, in this transformative time for Trinidad and Tobago, to bring a ministry of youth development. And that is a critical and pivotal aspect. And I want our young people to understand what has been done, because that ministry is focused on our young people. That ministry is focused on ensuring that even if you were not able to capitalize on all of the investment in the education sector, there is still a place for you. There is still a way to develop you. And so we have the MIC, YTEP, NESC, POSTAT, all of these institutions, UTT, all of these institutions run by the government, billions invested in these institutions. Why? To ensure that our young people have an opportunity to develop themselves. The People's National Movement has always been about our young people, our country, and our development. The future of Trinidad and Tobago is very important to us. And so you will hear from Minister Cummings tonight about what he has done, and you will also hear what is in train, because elections have consequences. And if the PNM is not returned, we cannot guarantee that all of this investment into our young people is going to continue. It is a fact, and facts are stubborn things. It is a fact that in 2015, the PNM restarted many of the youth programs that had been shut down. And so the PNM has continued on that trend, deepening this investment into our young people. And we want that to continue. So you will hear of the youth centers that are under construction and that will be finished in a short period of time. But we want this to continue for our young people. You will hear from Minister Cummings what he has been able to do. And of course, you are going to hear from Prime Minister Stuart Young. I want our young people to take note that the PNM has recognized that our country is in transition. The PNM understands that and has made a bold move. And former Prime Minister Keith Rowley is to be congratulated for going where Prime Ministers rarely go. Our former Prime Minister gave up office to show how invested the PNM is in transforming itself and transforming with Trinidad and Tobago. The Prime Minister understood at that time that that was important, and he made that selfless sacrifice to give up office and to allow a younger person to take over with a team of young people that he gave the opportunity to serve. I myself have been a minister for the past 10 years, learning at the feet of Keith Rowley, learning at the feet of Colin Mimbert, who is still with us, learning at the feet of Camille Robinson-Regis, understanding what it takes to serve this country. And so now I form part of a cadre myself. Minister Shamfa Kujo, for example, Minister Stuart Young, who is now Prime Minister, Minister Marvin Gonzalez, who has been in this service for the last 5 years, Minister Ayana Webster-Roy, 10 years of service. And we have a cadre of young people who have been trained, we have experience, but we are young enough to have the energy, the passion to serve this country. And so we are Team PNM, ready, responsible, with the required experience to do what is required in these times. We see what is happening worldwide. We see what's happening in the United States of America and how that domino effect is cascading into the Caribbean. You heard the head of CARICOM, Mia Mottley, Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados, speak to how the CARICOM is affected by all of these changes. So we must choose a government that is responsible, that is steady, that is sober, that is country-minded and understands what Trinidad and Tobago needs at this time. So you are going to hear for yourself, you the undecided voter, you the young person that is voting for the first time, you will hear for yourself the plans, the projections, and the track record of the PNM. And you will make your choice as to who you will support in this upcoming election, this all-important election. I know that the PNM is the right choice for this country, and I trust that when you hear the likes of Minister Cummings, MP Esmond Ford, our Prime Minister Stuart Young, you will understand the PNM's vision for this country. And don't forget, we have 2 surprise speakers on the cards for you tonight, and I guarantee that you will be pleasantly surprised to hear from them, and they also will espouse the virtues of the PNM government. This is not an election to take lightly. Citizens, we have the opportunity to choose. We have the opportunity to make the best choice for this country. And it is a privilege and an honor to be able to do that. And we will work with you, we the PNM, will work with you to provide the information you need that will allow you to make the best choice. The PNM is here in Tunapuna, if you are just joining us, and we are about to kick off our meeting. We are at the prayer session because, of course, you know, the PNM is a party of prayer. So our prayers are happening on the main stage, and very soon we are going to get to that point where our first speaker is going to take to the stage. And every speaker is going to give you PNM education. Every speaker is going to give you facts. Every speaker is going to embody the fact that we are ready and responsible. Every speaker is going to show how Team PNM is going to take this country into a new chapter, another chapter of the PNM. We are changing gears, so to speak. Same PNM vehicle with the same principles of the PNM, but we are changing gears because this country requires it at this time. And we salute our former Prime Minister, the Honorable Keith Rowley, who is also going to be our political leader for some time yet. So that is going to give us, as the young Team PNM, the type of guidance that is required as we make this transition. The PNM is in growth mode, and we invite all of Trinidad and Tobago to be in growth mode with us as we transition our party and as we prepare to transition this country into what we know is the best for this country. So are you undecided tonight? Are you one of our PNM family? We greet you. We are happy to have you. And if you are thinking about joining a party, if you are thinking about getting serious about how you show your patriotism and your nationalism, then you have found a home in the People's National Movement, because we are all patriots here. We are all people who are working hard for this country, and especially our cadre of young people that have been trained under Dr. Keith Rowley. We are here and ready to represent this country and to continue our track record of service. We have done a lot as a party, but there's more to do. And if you take your mind back to 10 years ago, you'd remember significant achievements of the People's National Movement. You'd remember that this is the party that would have increased the personal allowance so that if you are under $7,000 a month, you do not pay taxes. You would know that this is the party that has taken us through COVID, a significant time in this country, and we are facing another significant time. Our geopolitical scenario is unprecedented, and just as the PNM took us through COVID, steady hand guiding us through, this same People's National Movement is going to take us through these unprecedented geopolitical times. It is a difficult time in the world, and so Trinidad and Tobago needs the best leadership possible. We don't need people who are simply focused on gaining power by any means necessary, joining with anybody just to gain power. That's not what we need. We need a government that understands the needs of our people and is focused on those needs. So if you are looking for a night of political entertainment, political facts and vision, you are on the right channel. You are in the right place. So do not touch that dial. We are soon going to go to the main stage where you are going to be fed, edified, and at the end of this meeting, you will know that the PNM is the right choice for Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Dr. Nian Gatsbdoli. I'm Minister of Education, and I'm happy to be here with you as we take in what's going to happen on the stage very soon. I am one of the cadre of young people that we have been able to raise in the PNM, and we are looking forward to this meeting here tonight. And remember, we have 2 surprise speakers, so don't change this dial. Stay with us and enjoy the political education, the best political education, the People's National Movement style. And remember, on April 28th, vote solidly for the People's National Movement.
Ladies and gentlemen, do give yourselves a round of applause and have your seats, because it is only in Trinidad and Tobago we can witness what we just did. It is only in Trinidad and Tobago we can celebrate every religion, every creed, and every race. Give yourselves a round of applause. So we have paid our respects. We have paid our respect to the red, white, and black. We have invited the Lord to bless these proceedings. Now to you, the Red Army. Tunapuna, let me hear you. The Red Army, is it sweeping time? The Red Army, are you red? Are you ready? Are you responsible? I am seeing Young's Army. Where Young Army represent if you belong to Young's Army? I am seeing Marcel soldiers. Make some noise if you represent Marcel soldiers. I am seeing St. Joseph. Let me hear you make some noise. I am seeing Devines. Are you here? Make some noise. And then finally, brothers and sisters, I am the next member of Parliament for St. Augustine. St. Augustine, make some noise. Trinidad and Tobago, brothers and sisters, we are the People's National Movement, and we are here today, we are here tonight live from the Republic Bank, Exdous Spaniard, and boy, look at people. Allow me, brothers and sisters, of course, to recognize, and this is where we have to give our leaders and recognize them. Allow me to recognize our Honorable Prime Minister, of course, the Honorable Stuart Young, Senior Counsel, who is on his way to this proceedings. Allow me, brothers and sisters, to recognize our political leader, of course, a leader phenomenal, the 7th Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, who is paying attention to this meeting tonight. Allow me to recognize my brothers in service and how it will look if we're in Tunapuna and we don't recognize the MVP of Tunapuna, that man who will whitewash them left, right and center, your next member of Parliament, Esmond Ford. Tonight, allow me to recognize the Red Army, your General Secretary, the man who has been leading the charge in the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, and I dare say the next member of Parliament, Fola Hokata Talparo, who else other than the Honorable Foster Cummings. All of this would not have been possible without the live wire, the person who's responsible and who will be responsible for leading his 41 candidates to victory. Of course, our deputy political leader and Mr. Campaign Manager. Make some noise to Mr. Rohan Sinanan. Brothers and sisters, before we continue with our salutations, we have a surprise for you this afternoon, tonight, wherever you are. I ask you to make some way. Brothers and sisters, Young Army, where are you? Trinidad and Tobago, your 8th Prime Minister, and that man, I ask you to stand wherever you are as we welcome into these proceedings, of course, our Prime Minister, Stuart Young.
A man with energy, always checking for me. Don't let up at all, let's answer when we call.
But he is like a rock, he always vibrant and is strong, energetic and he young,
Scotty. When I hear it, I didn't believe it. I went and checked it, they say he well fit.
We have a new leader, he's strong with real power, the best in Trinidad. Tell them Griffiths is so.
Scotty, a man with energy, always checking for me. Don't let up at all, let's answer when we call. Scotty.
But he is like a rock, he always vibrant and is strong, energetic and he young.
PNM family, your Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, make some noise. Ladies and gentlemen, do have your seats. Prime Minister, welcome again to, of course, Tunapuna. Brothers and sisters, as I continue, we must recognize, as is customary, the people who are here with us, sharing of their time as they are committed to serving you. Allow me to recognize Auntie Irene and, of course, the entire operations team of the People's National Movement. Let us recognize Auntie Irene and her team, because we're looking good, PNM. We're looking good. Allow me to recognize the son of the soil, of course, that young man, my brother in service, the chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Mr. Councillor Josiah Austin. Allow me to recognize the matriarch of our party. We need to make some noise because this is upon the shoulders of our seniors. We stand, Auntie Joan. my other fellow candidates, because of course you know we have all successfully filed our nomination papers. To all my fellow candidates who are here, welcome again to Tunapuna. We recognize you. Brothers and sisters, we have in our midst tonight a man who said bye-bye to the UNC, and we welcome him here tonight. Let us make some noise and give him a P&M welcome, Mr. Larry Lala, Senior Counsel. All ministers of government, welcome to Tunapuna. P&M membership, ladies and gentlemen, the undecided voters of Trinidad and Tobago. Again, I welcome each and every one of you. Trinidad and Tobago, with but a few days again to go, let us get down to the people's business. Let us get down to your business, Trinidad and Tobago, because there is so much at stake. Tonight we have a lineup of powerful speakers who will report to you, who will present to you, and I am sure by the end will convince you why you are here in support of the People's National Movement. Brothers and sisters, and especially to those undecided voters paying attention through our multiple media streams, as we begin our new chapter, let us focus on our collective energy, brothers and sisters, on working together as a family, as the national family, to ensure we remain on a path to peace, progress, and prosperity. Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we responsible? And speaking about responsibility, I want to welcome our next speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, our next speaker is what I will call a servant leader, an advocate leader, a man who I'm sure you have seen at your wakes, at your christenings, at your funerals, at every event you would have celebrated. Even when you are in mourning in your constituency, he is there, right there with you. A man who I have seen myself paving pothole and paving the road. A man who has always had his boots on the ground. Tunapuna, you know who I'm talking about? Tunapuna Road, you here tonight? Green Street, you here tonight? Aquino Road, you here tonight? La Saiva Village, Orsanville Road, St. Vincent Road, Cassie Street, Mohammed Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the next man, of course, is a servant leader, and they want nothing with this man. Are you on board, Tunapuna? Tunapuna, are you on board? Put your hands together as we welcome to the political hustings your next member of parliament, Mr. Esmond Ford.
On board, with Ford. We on board, put on board. We on board with Ford. Put on board with Ford. We on board with Ford. This is no ordinary man. He's not the next corrupt leader. For performance, dedication, integrity, we supported the boy from Philly. I see we on board with Ford. We on board, put on board. We on board with Ford. Put on board with Ford.
Tunapuna!
The tractors will come on.
Tunapuna in the house, let me hear you. Tunapunians in the house, let me hear you. Philippians 2, verses 3 and 4. Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility you count others as better than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Amen. Tunapuna, I have walked this journey with you, inspired by these holy words. I have cried with you in times of loss, celebrated in your moments of joy, stood with you in your moments of challenge, and most importantly, I have represented you selflessly, faithfully, and to the best of my ability. Permit me to recognize our newly minted Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and Chairman of this great People's National Movement, the Honorable Stuart Young, SC. Other ministers of government present this afternoon. Officers of this movement, the People's National Movement, my fellow 40 other candidates, the PNM Tunapuna Executive, members of my campaign team, led by Mr. Ronald Makano, members of the media, our online viewers, ladies and gentlemen, and most important, my beloved Tunapuna constituents. Let me hear you. Good evening. I am a Tunapuna man, born and bred right on Fairley Street. Ask me what Tunapuna represents. Togetherness? Call something, let me whistle. Let me tell you, Tunapuna is love. Tunapuna is love. We are warmth, personified, the hospitable, dedicated, and of course strong. My journey from Fairley Street to councillor in the Tunapuna-Piarco Regional Corporation for the electoral district of Orzenville-Tunapuna, to vice chairman of the corporation, to your member of parliament and deputy speaker of the House of Representatives. This journey has been one of service, sacrifice, and steadfast commitment. If I can do it, you, the young people, no matter your circumstance, you can do it too. During my term in office, I have been your voice, your advocate, your servant. I, standing through some of our nation's most difficult times. COVID-19, you all remember that? Financial decline and post-People's Partnership economic recovery. We have made it through. Tunapuna, we have made it through. Under the astute leadership of our former Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, and your PNM government, we emerge stronger, unwavering, and in our commitment to progress. During my tenure, we have seen major infrastructure, roadworks, and drainage development in areas like Akono, Mokoya intersection, Eastern Main Road and Priority Bus Route, and of course our Balthazar Hospital drainage improvements. I have advocated for clubs to receive funding from the Ministry of Sports and Community Development, allowing our youth to represent Trinidad and Tobago on the international stage. Lobbying for employment opportunities for our people, especially our young people. Addressing infrastructural concerns, from repairing of water leaks, which are very important, upgrading of T&Tech lighting in parks and recreational facilities, and of course, during our street networks throughout Tunapuna. Homework centers, simple as it may be, established in partnership with our Tunapuna Youth Desk, catering and providing for successful students throughout their various exams. The Eagle Eye. I think there's a gentleman who has been going around Tunapuna lately just like how the others came in 2015 and 2020, and they knows nothing about Tunapuna. One of them spoke about the educational schools in Tunapuna. Larry, we went to Hillview, very prestigious. Lakshmi Girls, Tunapuna Government Secondary, El Dorado East and West. And we can go also to the primary schools that consist of all the denominational churches within Trinidad and Tobago represented right here in Tunapuna. So when that gentleman comes saying and want to talk about crime, tell him about the Eagle Eye. The Eagle Eye Camera System Network, which was birthed and founded in Tunapuna under the Tunapuna Police Resident Station Council, where over 75% of the homes within Tunapuna have access to this camera system, which is monitored at our Tunapuna police station. This Eagle Eye is doing so much for crime within our Tunapuna constituency. It has extended to St. Joseph's, it has extended to Lopino Bonaire, and it will be going along the east-west corridor as far, as wide as it can be. That's enough on that individual. Assisting residents with social assistance grants, especially self-help, and the HVIP with residents, especially in the St. Michael village of St. John Road in St. Augustine. Tunapuna, the decisions we make today will shape the future of our community. For our children and our grandchildren to come, we must stand firm and protect the principles upon which our community and constituency have been built. Many leaders, many champions of industries, it is through those principles of hard work, honesty, integrity, service above self, that we have produced giants such as Sir Larry Constantine, Councillor Monica Ferguson, MP Dr. Edward Eddie Hart, Miss Josephine from St. Cecilia Road, the Briggs family from Upper Fairley Street, not forgetting the Selvons in the Maracas Valley, just to name a few. We must respect those who seek to divide us with their deceitful intentions. Let us rebuke those that are hell-bent on making our communities unsafe. You see, some of them, well-dressed in their Sunday best, having participated in, fueled, and supported criminal enterprises. They come trying to impose their wicked and evil agendas upon us from time to time. Again, trying to get to the minds and hearts, and sometimes to the idle hands of our youth. But you see, we and us in Tunapuna know that it takes a village to raise a child. You all remember those days? I am one of such of those child. Brothers and sisters, I am a product of that village, Tunapuna village, that has nurtured me, guided me, and has shaped me into the servant leader that I am today. And if there is anything that I must do, that we must do together, we must reject them. What we must do? Reject them. We must reject them. We must reject them in all iterations. We must reject them. In every color, we must reject them. In every corner, we must reject them. Elections after elections. We must, and in 2025, we are going to, thank you. Not in Tunapuna. We must choose discipline over disorder. We must use decency over drama. Or, Alexander, we must reject him and them too. We in Tunapuna are people of class, a people of high moral standings and values, a people of strong conviction, We are a responsible people, and we will continue to reject every single one of them. But enough about them. People of Tunapuna, we have started the work and our future is bright. A Saturnin ceremony is earmarked for a new community swimming pool at our honeymoon recreational ground. That's supposed to happen this month. And it has already been approved and construction is due to begin. So we're swimming in Tunapuna also. The modernization of our Tunapuna market in collaboration with the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation under Chairman Councillor Josiah Austin. Let's hear it for our chairman of our Tunapuna Corporation and our councillor for Orzenville Tunapuna, Mr. John Boyd Briggs. The upgrade finally of Orzenville Park. Let's hear it for Orzenville Park, everyone. Through public-private partnership, Orzenville Park will be remedied and upgraded very soon. Upgrade of the Flamingo Steel Orchestra recreational ground. Let's hear the people of St. John and community. So, we will not only have Exdous Republic Bank Steel Orchestra, but we will also have, in the near future, Flamingo's Steel Orchestra with their own recreational facility provided by self-help with MIC construction and also the TPRC having its input for the construction. Construction of a new Lower El Dorado Community Center on Cora Road, one of the first community centers that was opened by Dr. Eric Williams way back in the 70s, will be demolished and a new one constructed before 2025. Construction completion of over 200 AGC apartments and condominiums at Cora Road and Smart Street in St. Augustine. So let's hear it. Construction upgrades of AGC homes. Tunapuna, I am dedicated to you, the people of this constituency, because your needs are our needs, your dreams and your aspirations. Our aspirations are the heart of everything I do. I pledge to continue leading with integrity, with vision and decisive action, rooted in inclusivity, respect and progress. As I close, it would be remiss of me not to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our dear political leader and former Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, for his long and distinguished legacy of service to our nation. I must also pointedly place my unwavering support and commitment to the present Prime Minister, the Honorable Stuart Young, SC. You have my support. As we embark on this new chapter of leadership for Trinidad and Tobago, together, stable and strong. PNM family, show me a party like ours that has withstood the test of time for 69 long, strong years. Let's hear it for the PNM. That has contested every single electoral elections in Trinidad and Tobago for the last 69 years, fielding all candidates. Let's hear it for the PNM. A party that has been in the forefront of every national, regional, and international development. A party has seen the birth and death of the NAR, the ULF, rather than call anymore A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and all its iterations. Now we are called to withstand this unholy band of bandits calling themselves a coalition of interests. We are proud to be representatives and members of the greatest political institution in the Western Hemisphere. We are the People's National Movement. My brothers and sisters, on Monday, the April the 28th, 2025, wake up early. Wake up early. Say your prayers. Say your prayers. Brush your teeth. Brush your teeth. And remember to go out early and cast your vote under the balize. Place your X by the balize for the People's National Movement.
Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, I ask you to stand. This is a political meeting. And what is the political meeting without our political leader? We ask you to put your hands together as we welcome to Tunapuna, the political leader of the People's National Movement, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley.
Yes, I can hear them saying, boy, stop living in the past. Where can I find that energy, the raw magic that I come from when RUNG used to carry it? We used to carry it when the RUNG used to carry it. We used to carry it when the RUNG used to carry it. We used to carry it when the RUNG used to carry it. We used to carry it when Arima had it, Maturita had it, Santa Rosa had it, Dongaruka had it, Imova had it.
Welcome again to Tunapuna, our political leader, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. Let's hear it for him. Welcome. So as I finish my benediction, and on that victorious night, when the ballots are counted, we will stand together as one people with one voice and one party, declaring with pride, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail. May God continue to bless our country, Trinidad and Tobago.
Trinidad and Tobago, ladies and gentlemen, of course the constituents of Tunapuna, you have heard from your Member of Parliament. He has reported to each and every one of you here on the achievements during his tenure. There is still far to go, people of Tunapuna, but your MP remains committed and he has presented to you facts, not fiction. Your MP have reminded you of choosing discipline over disorder. Ladies and gentlemen, to the viewing and listening public, as we speak about discipline over disorder, allow me to now get on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is of course, he has distinguished himself in the legal practice, in the legal profession. He's a man who has been actively involved in politics, and not too long ago, our next speaker would have believed in the conviction or that saying, if you stand for nothing, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Our next speaker, brothers and sisters, to the viewing and listening public of Trinidad and Tobago, to speak to each and every one of you why he has taken such a stand. I ask you to put your hands together, members of the People's National Movement, as we welcome to the political hustings, of course, Mr. Larry Lala, Senior Counsel.
I must believe, together we as a nation, who must believe, we see our kids as a reason, we must believe, we must stand for honesty, must believe, to defend democracy, must believe, in the PNM, for the PNM, for the PNM, I must believe, in the PNM, for the PNM, for the PNM, Jordan Island's blessed with a future, standing side by side.
Madam Chairperson, my sister Renuka Sagram Singh Suklal, Prime Minister Stuart Richard Young, Senior Counsel, former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, and Party Chairman, Ministers of Government, our 41 winning candidates, those who are present here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of Tunapuna and Trinidad and Tobago, good evening to you. Tonight I want to do some straight talk. So I ask you to listen to me, please. I am humbled at the amount of attention that has been focused on me on the media and on social media since my resignation from the United National Congress. And I believe because I am somewhat of a national figure, and I say that most humbly, I owe it to you to explain my actions. In saying that, however, to put context to everything that I'm going to say here tonight, I need to speak to you briefly about who I am. Some of you know who I am, but many of you do not. Many because of my apparent success make presumptions and assumptions about my background. I am an El Dorado boy. Who first lived in a humble home at number 263 Eastern Main Road, El Dorado. Esmond, you know that address? I attended the St. Charles Roman Catholic Preschool at Back Street, Tunapuna. Then the Tunapuna Hindu School, when it was located by the Siwala or temple just by Royal Castle on the Eastern Main Road. To get to school, I would walk to school down the Eastern Main Road from El Dorado, or take a PTSC bus or taxi, because in my pre-teen years, my parents often did not have a car. Even in those primary school days, I always dreamed of being a lawyer. I passed my common entrance for Queen's Royal College in Port of Spain, but transferred to Hillview College because of its closeness to my home. Through my PNM-provided education, I was able to excel at both O-levels and A-levels, and was able to gain entry at the Faculty of Law at UWI just down the road from here. In 1990, as I was about to enter the Faculty of Law, a very happy time for me to pursue my dream of becoming a lawyer. My father, unfortunately and sadly committed suicide. Luckily, I had a hard-working mother who would get up at 1 to 2 a.m. every day to make roti and other food items to sell at the tuck shop at Hillview College, which she ran for 34 years. And through her efforts, my two siblings and I were afforded a decent life. After my first year at UE, and Faris, I don't think he's here, he's supposed to come up this evening. Faris and I were classmates. After my first year at UE, I had to go to Cave Hill, Barbados to further my studies. However, my mother would not have been able to afford to support me for the 2 years that I was required to study at the Faculty of Law at Cave Hill. But fortunately, through the PNM provided student revolving loan fund that then existed, I was able to secure a loan to pay for my studies at Cave Hill, Barbados, and at the Sir Hewarding Law School, also just down the road from here, and go on to qualify as a lawyer. I have practiced law now for 29 years, and in the years 2006 to 2007, I served as a judge of our High Court on a temporary basis. I was then 35 years of age, and I believe I am the youngest person that was ever appointed in the history of our country to serve on our High Court bench. I have never, in my 29 years of the practice of law, had a complaint made against me before the disciplinary committee, have never had a client accuse me of financial impropriety in relation to money, have never had a judge accuse me of any misconduct or dishonesty in the practice of my profession. Since 1995, I have worked in just about every election for the United National Congress in Tunapuna, save for 2000 when I assisted in St. Augustine. That's when I'm coming to you just now. I got involved in the politics of our country because I'm of the firm belief in our collective potential as a country because of our beautiful diversity, our unique blend of culture, our geographic location, and our natural resources, just to name a few of our attributes. And I want the very best for our country. As I got involved in the UNC in the Pandey days, I believed in his philosophy that the best way to help most of our people with the country's limited resources is by giving them a hand up rather than a handout, providing opportunities for personal development and self-determination. So how did I end up here today? As some of you may know, who have been following me on social media or in the press, since 2015, after Mrs. Prasad Bissessa lost her first general election, I have been campaigning for change in the UNC, taking part in almost every internal election since then. In 2015, following the UNC's loss that year, I became concerned that the leader, Kamla Prasad Bissessa, was not positioning the party to make it a winner by doing what was necessary to attract and promote the best minds and persons with the best qualifications to represent the party and, by extension, our country. So I got involved in internal elections of the party, attempting with others to get control of the executive of the party so that we could influence the selection of candidates. In all our efforts, we did not succeed, largely because of Mrs. Prasad Bissessa's control of the election machinery in the party. At all times, though, I could not help but admire the PNM. In the way the party was organized and run, and the fact that it appeared at all times to go out of its way to attract and screen and put quality persons in our parliament. So after 2015, it became more and more apparent that Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar was not really interested in winning elections, but rather was interested firstly in maintaining her position as opposition leader. Judging by the poor candidates of questionable character and lack of genuine qualifications, that she, through her absolute control over the party executive, was choosing for the party, particularly in its safe seats. It was so evident what she was doing that in the build-up to the 2020 general elections, Martin Daly, SC, wrote on July 12, 2020 in the Sunday Express that, quote, "Meanwhile, at the beginning of the week, the UNC announced its candidates. Looking at the list then, it seemed to me that it was a political insurance list, packed with persons who might not be inclined to dump the leader of the opposition, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, if the UNC lost." And lost the UNC did in 2020. And I tried even harder to remove her, even risking personal violence to myself in January 2023, when hired goons at a party national executive meeting attempted to assault a pundit who was calling for Kamala to step down. In 2024, I gave it one last shot with Rushton Parry, Anita Haynes, Dinesh Rambali, Rai Ragbir, Rodney Charles, and the rest of our team. And all of you know how that went. I tell you all of this so that you would recall the facts and appreciate the fact that Lala didn't just roll off his bed one morning and decide he was going to jump ship and support the PNM. It is the culmination of years of putting my name, professional reputation, time, effort into an attempt to get the UNC to become a better and more appealing version of itself. Similar to what Dr. Rowley has been able to achieve with the PNM. And having given 9 years of my life to attempting to get that party to change, I can safely say with a clear conscience, they're hopeless. And change is impossible in that party, having regard to the control which the failed leader Kamala has over the party. At that time, it came evident to me that I had to look for a better party, the best party, to attempt to make a contribution in the politics to our national development. In making my efforts, at no time did I make political enemies, because my personal belief is that while we occupy these small pieces of land called Trinidad and Tobago, we could be opponents, but we must never be enemies. And while at all times I voice opposition to various proposals and policies of the PNM government, at no time did I say anything disrespectful to the PNM as a party or its supporters, for I had respect for both. And while in making my efforts, persons like my dear friends Faris Alrawi, Senior Counsel, Richie Sukai, my colleague Karim Marcel, my other colleague Marvin Gonzalez, Esmond Ford, and my sister, Renuka Sagram Singh Suklal, just to name a few, would encourage me to come over to the PNM. And why should I not come to the PNM? Because of race? I saw my colleague Israel Khan, senior counsel, when he isn't destroying the CJ's photograph, writing in the newspaper, saying that in Trinidad and Tobago, politics is either PNM till a dead or Apanjat. I want to tell him tonight that is no longer the case, Israel. The young people, no pun intended, of this country don't want to hear about race. They want a serious, stable party of capable patriots with serious intentions to run this country for the benefit of all of us. And the PNM is such a party. Sometime recently at a UNC meeting, I saw their candidate for Tunapuna, that Alexander fella, standing on a stage making a papi show saying, I am here. Well, I say to you tonight, PNM, I am here. And Esmond, seeing that Alexander fella and his activities in the public space and hearing about his activities, I think the PNM got a better deal. Why should I remain politically kidnapped and voiceless in a failed party with a failed leader because of race? Well, I'm sorry for those who think so, because I don't intend to do so. My brothers and sisters, I do not intend to do so. So enough about me and explaining my position. Let us move on to something else. My message to the nation and to all reasonable, decent people of our nation is do not take chain up. Remember the words of Basdeo Pandey. That thing called the UNC is not the party he founded. And if that entity posing as the UNC wins, you, Trinidad and Tobago, would lose. Do you want to lose Trinidad and Tobago? Why do I say that? Well, look at the party in the lead up to nomination day yesterday. For 5 years, Kamla's constant refrain in Dr. Rowley's ears, call the election, call the election, call the election. Well, when the Prime Minister finally took her on and called the election, what happened? She was totally unprepared. They had to miss the ABC's dry run for candidates because they did not have all their candidates and only identify their candidates at the last minute on Thursday, nomination being Friday. And who are the persons on their slate or persons with an interest in their slate who speak for the party? Philip Edward Alexander, Roger, Anil Roberts. You expect them fellas to run this country? I saw Anil in a video yesterday. He was vexed. He was vexed. I was supporting the PNM candidates who submitted their nomination papers yesterday. And he called me I don't want to say the word, out of respect to the woman in the audience, right? But Doug, the man, called me a feline. He used the C word. Tonight I want to tell Anil Roberts, what you say about me is irrelevant because my back is broad and thick. What I know you cannot say about me, what I know you cannot say about me is that I am a thief, I just lie, or the police looking for me. So say what you want about me. Another UNC writer, a prolific writer on WhatsApp who is a bowler of intellectually perverse and nonsensical writing pieces, in an attempt to insult me and shut me up, made fun of my beautiful black skin. At 55, I have no wrinkles. Huh? And he referred to me as a tar baby SC. Well, I want to tell him, I want to remind him what my late RG, my grandmother, look, my uncle sitting there, the mayor of Barima, Mr. Baliram Maharaj. What my RG used to say about me, she used to say, he might be dark, but he have education and training. But Kamala seriously expects to run the country with those individuals involved in our party. And talking about individuals, David Lee has been charged with perhaps the most serious offense a member of parliament can be charged with: misbehavior in public office and conspiracy to defraud. Why? Because he allegedly used his vehicle privilege, which MPs are allowed to import cars tax-free, to bring a Mercedes G-Wagon, perhaps the most expensive Mercedes one can buy, not for himself, but for another person. He therefore allegedly used his parliamentary benefits to defraud you, the taxpayer. Imagine a man charged for that while in opposition. What would happen if, God forbids, he finds himself in government? And that was the kind of man that Kamala had as the UNC's chief whip for years. And now she removed him from Pointe-a-Pierre or Claxton Bay, a marginal seat, and put him in a safe seat, Carrie Central, Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago. What does Kamala's putting of a man on such charges in a safe seat tell you about her governance intention for this country? I am telling you, if this entity called the UNC wins, you would lose. If the UNC wins, you will lose. Imagine she removed Barry Padarat from Princestown, and the people there say they're happy to get rid of him. And she booted Indar Singh, who people seem to like, and put Barry in Cuba South. What is so special about Barry? Apart from carrying your handbag, what special qualifications does he have? Why is Barry so important to her? Is he the person she is grooming to be the leader? Is that the type of person you want to lead this country? Now, having led the UNC for the past 15 years, 5 of which was while she was Prime Minister, the UNC still does not have a home because the party's finances have been badly managed, or no attention has been paid to managing the party's finances. And the party has been knocking from pillar to post, renting here, there, and everywhere. But having so led and mismanaged the UNC, Mrs. Prasad Bissessa is now running an election campaign, promising you, the citizens of this country, the moon and the stars, saying when the UNC wins, you win. And she is doing so. She has the audacity, the gumption to do so, while not telling you one solid plan that she has to raise a huge amount of money that will be required to pay for the moon and the stars that she is promising you. But I want to ask her here tonight, Madam, if you cannot manage the finances of your own party, how can you be trusted with the treasury of this country? in the difficult global economic times in which we exist? Can she be trusted to run your country? Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar is being highly irresponsible and even dishonest in the promises she has made to you. Just this past week, in a piece carried in the Guardian newspaper entitled "Economists Question Feasibility of Opposition's 10% Wage Increase," 3 of our noted economists and experts have reportedly said that her promises are like an empty cardboard box. Former Finance Minister Mariano Brown said of her promises, quote, "This would be akin to spending your money before you have received it, which is not a very practical or sensible thing to do. It is an attempt to win favor with the electorate. I guess when you're in her position, you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. Are you flies? Are you flies, Trinidad and Tobago? Trinidad and Tobago, I'm warning you tonight, do not be fooled. Don't be flies, because what Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar is selling is not honey. In fact, Prime Minister Young explained in San Fernando on Wednesday, what she is trying to sell you is a bag of poison that will send us off an economic precipice straight into the hands of the IMF. Dr. Indira Sejuan in the same article said that the 10% wage increase figure stated by that PSA president who finds herself on the UNC platform was unrealistic and premature. Dr. Marlene Atz also criticized the 10% figure and warned, and quote, warned that while politically appealing, the proposal is risky given Trinidad and Tobago's financial constraints, particularly our declining energy revenues. And on Thursday in The Guardian, noted business writer Anthony Wilson, in a piece entitled, quote, "Can TNT afford Kamla's promises?" end of quote, stated, quote, "The cost of funding 7 of the main promises, commitments by Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, the political leader of the UNC, during the 2025 general election campaign could mean more than $18 billion in additional expenditure revenue foregone, according to Business Guardian calculations based on publicly verifiable information and verified by senior economists. He also stated the UNC's leaders' emphasis on straight talk and telling the truth to her followers is crucial, because from where I sit, there is absolutely no way, short of a miracle, that a TNT government led by Kamla Prasad-Bissessar is going to be able to deliver the promises and commitments that will cost TNT an estimated $18 billion in additional expenditure revenue foregone, end of quote. So Trinidad and Tobago, don't be fooled by Prasad-Bissessar's bag of tricks, because if this entity wins, you lose. If Kamla, Barry, Khadija, Alexander win, you lose. Are you going to lose? I want to touch briefly on her health. In relation to the thought of Kamla running the country, there's a very serious concern, her health. And I don't want to be disrespectful, but running a country like Trinidad and Tobago is serious business and requires a lot of time and energy from its Prime Minister. We have all seen the videos of her and her inability to walk without assistance. It is clear that she is not well and that her health might be failing. And I believe there's another issue. We all saw the Eid video where she attended the Eid function and saw it fit to disrespect that function by announcing Barry's constituency. And we all saw the video and how she spoke. And we all heard how her speech sounded and how she fumbled. It is either she was very unwell or that she was inebriated, neither of which is good for the country should she become Prime Minister. And we have all heard the first-hand stories from persons who were close to her in the period 2010 to 2015. We have heard the stories about her work ethic and discipline or lack thereof, about the 4-day weekends and not getting to the office of Prime Minister until the afternoon hours. If the lady was like that 10 years ago, can you imagine what would happen now? You know, when Mrs. Prasad Bisesa is walking into a meeting, they have the habit of playing Blacks. The late Blacks' soca hit, I Feel Like Hulk. Somebody should tell them they are fooling nobody. Mrs. Prasad Bisesa is no Hulk. Perhaps a better tune to play would be that 1970s song by Frank Sinatra, also sung by Barbara Streisand and Judy Collins. You know what's the name of the song? Sending the Clowns. And then there's the question. And then there's the question of if we should put God out of our thoughts and allow that entity calling itself the UNC to win, and something should happen to Kamala in office, who will become Prime Minister. Who on that slate is qualified, experienced, and trusted enough by you to be Prime Minister? Barry? David Lee? Khadija? Tanku? Take your pick. Decent citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, I stand here to ask you to be responsible on April 28th. There is no way that you can be satisfied that that entity called the UNC and that pickup side of degenerates that Prasad Bisesa has put together can be trusted to run your affairs for the next 5 years. She has put together that slate of persons loyal to her, removing good, solid people like Rushton and poor Anita, so that when she loses, she could remain as opposition leader till death. Well, I plead with you tonight to grant her her wish and make her the opposition leader on April 28th. PNM family, are you going to make her opposition leader on April 28th? Now, in contrast to the failed, ill, weak leader with highly questionable judgment who leads the entity they call the UNC, we have the young, the pun intended, bright, energetic, accomplished, hardworking, result-driven, and patriotic son of the soil in Stuart Richard Young, SC. And he is all in for Trinidad and Tobago. Are we all in for Trinidad and Tobago? Decent citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, I want you to consider what the Prime Minister has done for our beloved country. For so long, the opposition, all they could do is ill-speak the Dragon Gas project and wish for it to fail. And that the Prime Minister's work on the project would result in sanctions against him, against the country, seize of his assets, the assets of Dr. Rowley, etc. Despite that, and no doubt at great risk to himself and his family, Prime Minister Young was able to maneuver difficult international, political, diplomatic, legal, and other issues to bring us to where we are on the Dragon Gas project. To the point that though there was a change in administration in the USA, he was still invited to bilateral talks with the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who assured us that the US is concerned with our energy security and will do nothing to harm our interests. Think of that. Ladies and gentlemen, very few, if any politician, would have been brave enough with the eyes of the United States on them to do what our Prime Minister was able to do, to go into Venezuela and bring that cross-border project between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela to where it has reached. I saw a newspaper story recently where Shell has stated that all things being equal, first gas on the project could be in 2026. And that is not the only project he has been actively working on for our country with his portfolio as Minister of Energy. As we have seen, and I'm sure he would speak about, there are other gas projects that are coming on stream very shortly that will have that scarce foreign exchange flowing into our treasury, making it better for all of us. Trinidad and Tobago, particularly our young people, that is the leadership we need at this time in our history. If Stuart Richard Young Senior Counsel has been so successful with his portfolio as Minister of Energy, imagine what he could do for you in the office of the Prime Minister now. Now I know that the last 9 years have been difficult in our country in several ways. Even I have criticized and complained at times about those difficulties. But we have to be honest with ourselves. Times have been difficult because our country over those years, the last 9 years, has not been earning the type of foreign exchange that we earned in the years 2020 to 2015. So to a great extent, it is unfair to compare the state of our financial happiness and comfort over those 9 years to the years 2010 to 2015, when the UNC was in power. But the signs are clear that that is about to change, largely because of the work that the Prime Minister and other persons like Dr. Rowley and Minister Brown have been doing for our country. Ladies and gentlemen, the ship of state is steady. It has sailed through rough waters, but it is steady. And steady as she goes, from what we are seeing on the horizon, things will get more manageable for all of us soon. But now is not the time to change. Now is not the time to change captain and crew. For like the Titanic, we will hit an iceberg, the IMF, with devastating consequences if we listen to Kamala Persad-Bissessar and her nonsense. We need to allow Prime Minister Young to bring his energy, experience, work discipline, and result-driven focus to bear on our immediate future in the office of Prime Minister. With his full team of 41 PNM candidates, so that he may complete and allow us to see the fruits of the work in which he is involved. So in 3 weeks' time, PNM, who are we voting for? Almost finished, huh? Before I close, I must, as a Tunapuna boy, say something about our candidate for Tunapuna. I campaigned against Esmond in 2015, but I have come to like and respect Esmond. Why? Like me, he's a past student of Hillview College, but it is not simply that. All of Tunapuna know that Esmond is one of the most genuine, down-to-earth, fair, caring, hard-working members of parliament that anyone could wish for. You know that popular sitcom on television, Everybody Loves Raymond. Well, in Tunapuna, everybody loves Esmond. You won't see Esmond on TV or in the news much, but in Tunapuna, you will see him on every street, at every wedding, christening, puja. I like what they do with the horn up there. Church service, mosque service, sports day, anything taking place in Tunapuna is one day. I remember that even when my Aji, my grandmother, died a couple of years ago at age 99, Esmond attended and spoke at her funeral. And she lives across the main road, which falls in the constituency of St. Augustine. The man was even campaigning in St. Augustine. Edmund is so loved and respected. He could beat both Alexander and Khadija at the same time. But don't worry, our warrior sister, Renuka, is going to deal with Khadija. And she will deal with Zambo too. Apart from his work as a member of parliament, all of us have seen him perform his duties as Deputy Speaker of the House. And he has been fair to both sides at all times, and I challenge anyone to say otherwise. He is not a man to abuse his authority, unlike his opponent, as we have all seen in that video with him and Ian Allen. So as a Tunapuna boy, born, bred, and educated, I have no hesitation in endorsing my dear brother Esmond Ford. Tunapuna, are we on board with Ford? I can't hear you. Tunapuna, are we on board with Ford? And there's just one last thing for me to say. On the night of April 28th, when all is counted and reported, we will stand in solidarity as citizens of this beautiful country and say, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.
I must believe, can we as a nation? Who must believe? We see our kids as the reason. We must believe. We must stand for honesty. Must believe.
The PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail. Trinidad and Tobago, you have seen for yourself what we at the People's National Movement attracts. Trinidad and Tobago, you have seen for yourself the quality of men and women that come to the People's National Movement. Let us give my brother a round of applause. Thank you for taking social responsibility for your country. There is a place for each and every one of you at the People's National Movement. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, As I've always said, we are the People's National Movement, and we offer to you quality men and women. And as I speak about quality men and women, as I speak about quality representation, it takes me to our next speaker. At the People's National Movement, we have always believed that the future of this country lies with our young people. It rests in the hands of our young people. And so a ministry dedicated to young people was created. A ministry that focuses on empowering young people, irrespective of your creed, irrespective of your race. Ladies and gentlemen, what other person to lead the charge in that ministry? A champion of the people, a man who has worked through the rank and the file of the People's National Movement. La Hoketa Talparo. La Hoketa Talparo. Join me as we welcome none other than your next member of parliament, my political brother, a man of distinction, the Honorable Foster Cummings.
They can't keep a good man down, always keep a smile when they want me to frown. Keep the vibes and I stood my grounds. They will never ever take my crown. Oh, Jah bless, I say no man curse. Things getting better when they thought it would be worse. Here comes the officers asking for a search. They found no weapon, just only a draw first. Cause I'm so solid as a rock, they just can't stop me now. Even when they set their traps, they just can't stop me now. People will say this and that, they just can't stop me now. Even when they set up roadblocks, they just can't stop me now. When they come with their evil thought, I just listen whenever they talk. I is the light into my dark. He cut and clear all my path. They fight me without a cause, trying to make my life so hard. The King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, give it all reward. It's so solid as a rock, they just can't stop me now.
Thank you, DJ.
Even when they set their traps, they just can't stop me now.
PNM people, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though a host shall encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war shall rise against me, in this I will be confident. One thing I have desired of the Lord, that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, and to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. The political leader of the People's National Movement, the man from Mason Hall, who has joined us tonight, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Laventille West, the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. What did I just say? Diego Martin, Diego Martin. Francine, cool it Francine, Diego Martin West. Okay, Diego Martin. Listen, I see Francine and a host of Diego Martin people rushing down here. Diego Martin West.
Prime Minister Stuart Young, Chairman of the PNM and Member of Parliament for Port of Spain, North St. Anne's West. In the politics, you can't make mistake with seats. I can tell you who is the Member of Parliament for La Hoqueta Talparo yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And no amount of kilowatts could do anything about that. I am so pleased to see such a beautiful sea of red here in Exdous Spaniard. But there are a few things tonight. I must share with you. Because you know I have been involved in the politics for some time. When I check, I realize I am in this thing for 38 years. I say, but I must be getting younger and younger. But something happened yesterday that caused me pause. I was on my way. Nomination day was yesterday. And all over Trinidad and Tobago, the democratic process was in play. As nominees from various political parties led their supporters to the returning officer to file their nomination. This is normally done with some level of fanfare. Maxi taxi, little motorcade, tassa drum, African drum, dancers, music truck. To my surprise, while I'm heading down to La Hoqueta, I see in St. Joseph and Barataria motorcade going down the road and people happy to nominate the candidate. My campaign team is telling me that the police in La Hoqueta say no music truck, no tassa, no parang, no drum, no dancer. Just put your finger on your lip and go and do your nomination. As a matter of fact, my supporters were told to stay 120 feet away from the nomination booth. And being the law-abiding citizens as we are, we obeyed the instructions of the police. To my surprise, as I drive into the city of La Hoqueta, I am to be greeted by a big 40-foot yellow truck, pumping music and wailing in the street. I said, what manner of injustice is this? So I took out my phone and I touched video record and I started to record the commotion. And upon doing that, I now had evidence, because by that time my truck quiet can't make a squeak under threat of being impounded. And using that, I then forwarded it to say, well, what going on with yellow and red have to stay quiet. When I exited submitting my nomination successfully to be your next Member of Parliament for La Hoqueta Talparo, while my supporters were told to stay 120 feet away, and I exit the returning officer office, is yellow greeting me at the gate. Well, by that time, I could not restrain the sea of red that descended upon them to let them know that in La Hoqueta Talparo, red is the word, red is the word, red is the word. So if you hear the DJ play, you can't keep a good man down. It's because no matter what they do, no matter what they try, no matter who they recruit, it is PNM, 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 PNM. And we will whip them. We will whip them. They just troubled my spirit yesterday. So I decided, you know what? It's door to door, street by street, avenue by avenue. We will go to every home in this country and let them know that we are ready and responsible to continue the governance of Trinidad and Tobago. And if, as Larry Lala SC say, that all they're good for is opposition, I believe him, we will leave them in opposition forever and ever and ever. But you know, I must share a few things with you tonight. My wife tells me to shout too much on the platform, so I know she's listening, so I calm myself down. I'm not going to shout tonight. Shout! Great is the PNM! Great is the PNM! Great is the PNM! Great is the PNM! And we shall prevail! They feel that somehow they can fool us, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, to return them to the corridors of power in this country again. And what are they doing? They tried Cambridge Analytica in 2020. You remember that? Now, there's something called astroturfing. I want you to write that down in your head. Astroturfing. What is astroturfing? The deceptive practice of presenting an orchestrated marketing or public relations campaign in the guise of unsolicited comments from members of the public. Anything you post now on social media that making sense, that come from the PNM, that talking about good governance, that talking about development, one set of bots jump on it, and it's all kind of comments about if the UNC win, everybody win. About yellow is the code. Listen to me, people, particularly the young people in this country. You know, I understand that social media influencers who are very influential in this country, many young people following them, receiving inducements in paper bag so that they could push the narrative of the UNC about yellow is the code. Yellow is the code to thief, the code to get in the treasury. They like the word code because when they think about the treasury of Trinidad and Tobago, they're thinking about a safe in the head where they could go and punch a code and get in and get into your money. Never again. Never, ever, ever again. They want governance so badly, not because they want the development of Trinidad and Tobago, and there's evidence that they do not want it. You know why? Because while this government, Dr. Rowley, Stuart Young, SC, negotiating for the development of this country, bringing new resources in terms of gas and business to Trinidad and Tobago, they bad talking Trinidad and Tobago. Imagine they want to run here, but bad talking. They care about you, the young people of this country. They bad talking the country. You imagine that? You going out in the village and bad talking your own home? That is what they do to this country. While we're trying to bring business in, they bad talk in the country. And let us talk about their influence on the young people. Do you remember the UNC in office closing down every youth program they could put their hands on? How many of you knew about the youth camps in this country? Chatham, Presto Presto, Chagaramas, Mount St. George and Tobago, El Dorado for girls, they shut down all. When I told them that last year, one of them jumped out and says, not we, it's the PNM shut it down. You just go on Google now and punch in Google who closed down El Dorado Youth Camp, and you will see it was the United National Congress government. Well, you know what? The PNM government has decided to reopen every single one. For the benefit of the young people, because their idea about young people is to trick you, to use social media influencers to cause you to stay home and not vote. I walk the streets of La Joquita and some young people telling me, I don't vote. I say, why? Because of religion? No, I just don't vote. And when you engage them, you understand that they lack the information necessary to cause them to make a correct decision as to their own future. So I had to sit with them and say, listen, the UNC, what they have in store for you when they say yellow is the code, is that their idea of crime fighting was a state of emergency where they lock up thousands of young black people in this country, and we will not forget it ever, ever, ever. That is their idea of youth development. Our idea for all citizens of this country, we govern for all the citizens. It is the political party that represents every single race, creed, culture, religion, is the PNM. We do not discriminate. When we put a policy in place, whether you're from Chagaramas, whether you're from Caranage, whether you're from La Joquita, whether you're from Pinal, whether you're from Barrackpore, whether you're from Cuba, whether you're from Chaguanas, we govern for all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So that we put an agricultural program in place called YAP. It is a 2-year program at the University of Trinidad and Tobago. I can only tell you about a handful of them tonight, because if I go to talk about all the youth programs of the government, we're here till tomorrow morning. So I'll pick out just a few. We put an agricultural program in place where you are certified by the University of Trinidad and Tobago for 2 years. After you successfully complete that, 1 year at ECIAF, the other year you're on a farm learning from a master farmer. When you finish that apprenticeship program successfully, you get 2 acres of land, a starter home, and $20,000 to start your own business, courtesy the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The same young people who they're trying to convince now that yellow is the code and they love you and they care about you, when we introduce that program, they call you strangers and say the PNM putting strangers on agricultural land. You sift that and try to understand what they mean by that. So if you're from Port of Spain, you can't go Chatham, you're a stranger. Well, in this country, every creed and every race find an equal place. We have the Shade House program at Tucker Valley in Chagaramas, where we are teaching young people in collaboration with the University of the West Indies, protected agriculture under shade house circumstances. Dr. Rowley, in the PNM, we drink water. And we do announce candidate when we go to religious functions. We have Balize House, we have a screening committee, and when we finish screening at Balize House, we send out a press release and say who our candidate is. They have office on top of rum shop and all kind of things, so I understand how they operate in the UNC. After they get booted out, a Renzi complex, for whatever reason, they can't settle down, they can't find a home, and want to jealous us because we have that beautiful red edifice called Balize House at number 1 Tranquility Street, Port of Spain. So we have the Shade House program down in Tucker Valley. Young people down there planting lettuce, style celery, all kind of nice tomatoes. Dr. Rowley and Prime Minister Young will tell you, nice cucumbers, so that they could sell to the hotels and the restaurants and the supermarkets. That is our idea of youth development. To date, we have trained 1,400 young farmers in this country. And they want to tell you about yellow is the code, red is the word, red is the word, red is the word. Look, when they come by, you just close your door or run them from in front of your place here. And we will continue to offer accredited training to all the young people of Trinidad and Tobago. We have a cutting short for you tonight. I'll give you our next part some other time. But we have determined that the young people of this country are productive people who, given the opportunity, will realize their fullest potential. So heavy equipment operation. We have trained hundreds of young people to operate backhoe, excavator, dump truck, bulldozer, skid steer, and they are now employed. I went to a certain function and gone to the bar to get a little water. And the young man who was in the bar, looking at me as if he knows me, I know I don't know him. He said, "Sir, I could speak to you a minute?" I said, "Yes." After I gave him a drink of water, he said, "I just want to thank you and the government." I said, "For what?" He said, "You all had a program in heavy equipment operation. I am a graduate of that, and now I am working, employed, operating heavy equipment." I said, "And what you're doing here?" He said, "This is my part-time hustle." And I was sure that we were onto something good when Dr. Rowley set up the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service. We importing new cars into this country every day, electronic cars, hybrid cars, etc. And we need to train mechanics how to fix that. We launched a program in conjunction with NESC out of the Ministry of Education, training our young people how to fix these new fancy motor cars. We have so far trained over 300 new mechanics, so that when you have problems, you could get on to these fellas. And we will soon establish a data center where you can just log in and get access to all of these young people. We'll have some discussions with Nalis on that. So you could just, you're looking for a carpenter, you're looking for a mason, you're looking for a mechanic, you're looking for a joiner, you're looking for a plumber. All of these people will be in the skills bank, and you could just log in wherever you are and give these young people an opportunity for their future in Trinidad and Tobago. And so when, as a young person, you hear the UNC hiring influencers to come and tell you that you should not vote, that the PNM is not good for you, that yellow is the code, and that if UNC win, everybody wins. Well, we could believe Larry Lala SC when he says, when UNC wins, if UNC wins, everybody loses. We will whip them seat by seat and make sure that there's a stable future for the young people of this country. When you have a decision to make, young people, understanding that all those comments that you're seeing fabricated by AI to make you feel that it's some popular position, it is really them doing the Cambridge Analytica again to try to work on your mind. They feel you're stupid, you know. You know, they think that you're foolish. They're insulting you by thinking you will read that bot-generated comment, unsolicited, directed to influence your mind, to put them back in the treasury where they could rape the country again and again and again. And we say, for the development of this country, could you please ignore Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the United National Congress? They're so desperate to get into office. They went and they pick up Tom here, Jerry there, anybody that they feel. Anybody could be a candidate in the UNC. Could you imagine? In the PNM, when we are screening candidates, ask Dr. Rowley. There's a lonely chair down in the corner. And you better have your proper qualifications. It are no AI-generated certificates in the PNM to be a candidate. The party group must nominate you. The constituency group will screen you. You come to Balize House at number 1 Tranquility Street, Port of Spain. You wait your turn, and then you sit before a committee to convince them that you are a decent citizen worthy of the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. A fella sneaked into a screening the other day and didn't fully disclose his credentials. On a question posed by Dr. Rowley, we realized the chap had some questions to answer to the law. Well, he was promptly advised, sorry sir, this is not Renzi complex. If you want to screen and you have criminal record, head down to Renzi complex, you could get some attention there. In the PNM, we are for decency and morality in public affairs. Can't be on no charge and come to want to be a candidate in the PNM. So tonight, in Tunapuna, you vote for Esmond Ford. In Diego Martin West, you vote for Hans Levins. In Laventille West, you vote for Kareem Marcel. In St. Anne's East, you vote for Nyan Gasby Dolly. In St. Joseph, Terence Dial Singh. In Port of Spain North, St. Anne's, you vote for Stuart R. Young. In La Hocata del Paro, no matter who they bring, watts, kilowatts, megawatts, or what, you vote for Foster Cummings on the PNM. All over Trinidad and Tobago, we will retire Kamla Persad-Bissessar from politics, and we will continue to give sound and stable governance to Trinidad and Tobago. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And we shall, and we shall, and we shall prevail.
I'm so sorry, there's a rock, they just can't stop me now. Even when they set their traps, they just can't stop me now.
PNM, red is the code, and red is the word, and that is how we will crack their code. Red is the PNM, red is the PNM.
When they come with their evil stuff, I just listen whenever they talk. That is the light into my dark. He cut and clear all my fault. They fight me without a cause, trying to make my life.
And our General Secretary,
give it all reward. Because our leaders are up, they just can't.
Our General Secretary wanted me to remind you all that in St. Augustine, I will be taking that seat. Ladies and gentlemen, red is the word, and that is how we will crack the code. We are the People's National Movement, and Trinidad and Tobago, you continue to see speaker after speaker. What we at the People's National Movement have on offer to you, the right, sober, prudent thinking citizens of this country. Trinidad and Tobago, in the People's National Movement, it is no secret, we understand that we are now transitioning, and we have transitioned into a new leader, a new Prime Minister of this country. Trinidad and Tobago, in the People's National Movement, we have started writing our new chapter, a new chapter for the people of this country. As we write this new chapter, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, let us all recommit to making Trinidad and Tobago a country which stands as a lasting example of unity and strength in diversity. Let us go forward, brothers and sisters, as one people, defending our homeland, with boundless faith in our destiny. And the man who will be leading us, as we write this new chapter, ladies and gentlemen, a smooth operator, a tough negotiator, a senior counsel who continues to defend us here, who continues to represent us. Stand up, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome to the hustings our Prime Minister, your Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of every citizen of this country, the Honorable Stuart Richard Young.
A man with energy, always checking for me. Full legs of patrol, that's answer when we call. With ear cover up, he always vibrant and strong, energetic and young, Scotty. When I hear it, I didn't believe it. I went and checked it. They say he read it. We have a new leader. He's strong with willpower. The best in Trinidad. Tell them with
Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to the energy. Welcome to the love. Welcome to the soberness of the People's National Movement. Allow me on behalf of all of Trinidad and Tobago to welcome to the Gael here tonight, a phenomenal leader who remains our political leader, who has led Trinidad and Tobago fearlessly, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. Trinidad and Tobago, after the lineup of speakers tonight, setting the pathway for the conversation I would like to have with you, you would now allow me to have a conversation with you that is a necessary one. And I want to start off with something that just came to me. Because you've heard for the last 9.5 years that when you are Prime Minister, you get certain information. When you are the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, you get information as well as the Chairman of the National Security Council. So you would have heard Minister Cummings a short while ago warn Trinidad and Tobago about the use by the UNC and the UNC agents of certain bots and intentional misinformation on the internet. So last night, after midnight, as the Prime Minister, I had a series of people sending me a video, and I'm sure many of you in this crowd would have seen it. There was a video of rapid gunfire, as though it was a war zone, and people were telling us that was Tunapuna. Did you all see the video? Immediately, I got on to the Minister of National Security after midnight last night, and I asked that that be investigated. I asked that this is a serious, serious matter, because of the type of gunfire I was hearing, as many of you heard, and the fact that it was being suggested that it is Tunapuna. Because you see, we all knew that the PNM was coming here tonight for this meeting. At 9:36 p.m. tonight, as the Chairman of the National Security Council, I received a report on the investigation into that video. And this is a warning, Trinidad and Tobago, as to the type of tactics and the way that the UNC and its operators are trying to influence wrongly Trinidad and Tobago. I can now say, without fear of contradiction, our services having investigated and the cyber unit having investigated that video, that the video is fake and made by a video game. The video is fake and made by a video game. And that takes me to another point. Because I want to warn all of the civic-minded, sober citizens who want to build a better Trinidad and Tobago that my colleague from the inner bar, Senior Counsel Larry Lala, spoke about. Because you see, on the 28th of April, Trinidad and Tobago, we have a very critical decision to make. On the 28th of April, we have to decide who is going to govern Trinidad and Tobago. We have to decide, do you want a responsible, a sober, a sane government who has the ability, who has the credibility, who has the reputation to do what is right for Trinidad and Tobago? Or are you going to choose a person and a party who has a track record of continuously attacking Trinidad and Tobago, who has a proven track record of a continuous attempt to mislead the population, continuously putting misinformation into the public domain? And that is part of the decision we have to make. We have to be very, very careful that you don't allow the fake videos and the fake information that one party is putting out there influence our minds. Because you see, I spoke in San Fernando the other night, and you remember the conversation I had, because it was an important one. I was warning Trinidad and Tobago that when we study the plans of the UNC and the promises being made and the bag of poison that I referred to, it could only happen in one way, the destruction of Trinidad and Tobago. And I listened very carefully, like I'm sure many of you did. And I waited to see how the UNC would respond to that. And for the next 24 hours, because I used a video of the leader of the UNC, as well as the UNC's plan to prove the point I was making about devaluation. For the next 24 plus hours, it was pure silence. They could not respond. But what they did was they produced a video of me standing saying that I would get rid of CPEP, I would get rid of URP, I would get rid of this, and I'd get rid of that, which you all know was a lie. Because that is the way that that irresponsible, dishonest, thieving party operates. You would also recall, you have a comparison of attending one of our religious festivals in Trinidad and Tobago, which is one of the most important religious occasions for Muslim brothers and sisters, Eid. So a couple weekends ago, as the Prime Minister, representing everyone in Trinidad and Tobago, being very conscious that a Prime Minister should integrate him or herself with every religious organization in Trinidad and Tobago to show respect, I attended, as I've done for the last 4 years, a mosque in South Trinidad and participated at the request of the Muslim clerics in something called zakat and handing out, as you do, contributions to those who have less and those who are more vulnerable in society. And if you look at the proper video of it, you will see me very respectfully actually thanking people, having conversations with people in a sober manner, respecting the Islamic religion. Within minutes, a frontline member of the UNC, a frontline member who is a Muslim in the UNC, produced a doctored video trying to sell a narrative to Trinidad and Tobago that I was doing zakat and paying for votes. And you know what was the most disturbing part about that? That certain elements, unfortunately in the media, quickly grabbed hold of that story and came at me with it. But what it was funny is it was their video that Saddam Hussein used to doctor and to block out the conversation that the young mother was having with me. I start my presentation tonight, Trinidad and Tobago, warning you of the dangers and giving you 3 live examples that are irrefutable about the behavior of those who are trying to fool Trinidad and Tobago to lead us to destruction. Let us get back to the comparison. We have worked relentlessly without rest to stabilize Trinidad and Tobago over the last 9.5 years. We have sought to attract foreign investment to Trinidad and Tobago. And I want the population tonight to be reminded at what those who are now asking you to give them your vote did. As we were trying to get someone with the wherewithal, the ability to restart the refinery, because the state cannot run the refinery. The refinery was costing billions of dollars. In 2018, it cost $16 billion in losses. And again, I saw Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC come out and try to say that the audited accounts were not the accounts and to sell a narrative to the population. We had a businessman from India come to Trinidad and Tobago, seek out Trinidad and Tobago because of the efforts and the conversations that Prime Minister Rowley had in a whirlwind tour in India, their invitation to tell, as he has been doing for years, the world, we have a refinery. If you're interested, come and take a look at it. Mr. Navin Jindal came to Trinidad and Tobago. As I told you in San Fernando, Navin Jindal is part of the Jindal family. His mother is the 4th richest woman in the world. Navin Jindal is a very successful Indian businessman and a parliamentarian in India. The first thing that the UNC did was attack Mr. Jindal, attack his character and attack him and make it known to him that they did not want his business in Trinidad. Well, that cost us potentially billions of US dollars, and that was done by the UNC that is now asking you to be in government. So compare responsible government, concerned and working all the time for Trinidad with that type of behavior. But before that, again, a PNM government early in its term between 2015 and 2020 sought to ensure the economic development of Tobago, because we want Tobago to develop an economy that could earn foreign exchange, it can earn employment, and we're not looking to just put any mom and pop's hotel there. We sought the best hotel chain in the whole Caribbean that is on the Fortune 500 listing. We asked Mr. Butch Stewart to come to Trinidad and Tobago. He came. We acquired prime land in Tobago. We went there with Mr. Butch Stewart and his son Adam Stewart for a deal that would have lifted Tobago's whole economy in a way that it is impossible for people to understand. But you only need to look at Grenada. You only need to look at St. Vincent to see how one Sandals hotel in both of those islands lifted the GDP and literally rescued those economies in times of great difficulty. We were negotiating as a responsible PNM government a Sandals and the beaches and an 18-hole golf course designed by Greg Norman. I remember going with Dr. Rowley and Adam Stewart and his designers. And I think Greg Norman came down as well. He did. Greg Norman came down and we walked on the land that had been acquired to design a Greg Norman golf course. That would have lifted the economy not only of Tobago, but of Trinidad and Tobago. So people, Trinidad and Tobago, as you get ready to make an important decision on the 28th of April, in 3 weeks' time, remind yourself who attacked the Sandals brand and attacked the Stewart family, making them say, we're sorry, but we have to protect our brand, and they left. And they left there, they went and set up a successful Sandals in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They built one in Curacao, another one in St. Lucia, when we had convinced them to allow us to jump the queue and build that. So Trinidad and Tobago, you have to decide if you want a responsible government who has the capability to negotiate good deals for Trinidad and Tobago, or you want people, their track record is to lie to you, to create lies, to steal, and worse, to do what they can to destroy Trinidad and Tobago. Because you see, any Trinidadian who tries to undermine energy deals and is writing to a US government saying, sanction Rowley and Young, and writing to a US government and telling them all manner of things about Trinidad and Tobago, and worse yet, disrespecting the president of Venezuela, whatever they may think. President Maduro is the president of Venezuela. You all would have seen President Trump sent one of his main envoys, Richard Grenell, down to Venezuela a few weeks ago to talk to President Maduro, did you not see that? So if the President of the United States sent one of his right-hand men down to Venezuela to speak to President Maduro, they negotiated and you saw 6 Americans go back on a plane and deportees come in. Doesn't that say something to you? Look at the facts. But you have, unfortunately, a woman here, self-appointed senior counsel, attacking President Maduro. I'm sure she's doing it tonight as well, calling him a narco trafficker and all manner of things, when the government of the United States itself is engaged in conversation with Venezuela. So, you have seen the record that we have produced. It was just last night I was talking to some businessmen because they too have to make decisions about what will happen on the 28th of April, meaning that we want them to continue investing in Trinidad and Tobago so we have jobs. I was asking them, don't take your investment and go to other places. It is safe under a PNM government to invest there so we could secure jobs along the whole East-West corridor. I was busy persuading them that under a PNM government that is going to continue in office on the 29th of April, their business is not only secure, but it will thrive. And I am proud to tell everybody tonight that after all of these types of conversations with a PNM government in the last 9.5 years, not one of them, not one of these businessmen can say that one or other of the 2 PNM prime ministers ever asked them for a red cent to work with their businesses. And you know what was the outcome of that meeting? One of them said, I have something to confess. In the past few years, I was speaking to oil and gas companies. And the oil and gas companies were saying that Rowley and Young would never be able to get Venezuelan gas deal. They would never be able to get a license from Venezuela or the clearance from the United States because it's under sanction. And that businessman told me, he said, when you returned in December 2023 with a 30-year license from the government of Venezuela for the Dragon field, he said the whole oil and gas industry was converted. And the whole oil and gas industry, which we depend on, it is that money that pays for a free education. It is that money that pays for every single government job. It is that money that pays for every contract worker in every ministry, every state enterprise. That is how Trinidad and Tobago survives. That we are one of the few countries in the world you can walk into a hospital or a health center, not only get the best medical care, but get free medication. It is our oil and gas that pays for it. So citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, defend your country. Defend what is right. Prepare yourselves on the 28th of April to put the PNM back in office. I was telling my colleagues who are sitting around me tonight that on my way here, someone sent me a photograph of another meeting taking place in Tunapuna. And sitting in the front row was one of the gentlemen that Larry Lala spoke about, Israel Khan. And you know who he was sitting next to? Jack Warner. And you know what crossed my mind? I say, I wonder if he hiring senior counsel to continue avoiding extradition. But there's a serious message in that. Because these are the people who are trying to avoid the law, who are avoiding criminal prosecution in the United States. And you have to question yourself, why are they so invested in a UNC campaign. You have to question, for 10 years the UNC is out of government. Where is the money coming from? For every ad in the newspaper as you turn, and every ad on television, and they're flooding the radio, and they're paying influencers. Where is that money coming from? And I am telling you tonight that I strongly suspect the people who are funding that campaign are people who want to stay out of jail and people who have trouble in court. This PNM government does not have that problem. You do not have to worry when you elect this PNM government that at any point in time, as any member of the cabinet is leaving Whitehall after cabinet, you have a process server coming to serve them for corruption case like Eden Gardens or EMBD, or worse yet, you have a police officer knocking on their door with a warrant to check. But if you take God out of your mind and you put those UNC people anywhere near Whitehall, that is one of the risks that you run. Let's get to the geopolitics, because you see, Trinidad and Tobago is not isolated. Are you seeing how the world is changing rapidly every single day because of measures being taken by the United States, our largest trading partner, and a country who we are friendly ally with? I want to spend a few minutes tonight explaining this tariffs thing so we could all understand how tariffs can affect each and every one of us in our lives. But the question I ask you, population of Trinidad and Tobago, is who would you prefer sitting on the table opposite these world leaders, opposite the decision makers of the oil and gas companies protecting Trinidad and Tobago? Who do you prefer? You prefer someone who is shown that he can negotiate and negotiate hard on your behalf? Someone who is always sober? Someone who they can't find anything on, so they literally have to create videos and lies about? Or you want someone who cannot even string a sentence together unless they are reading it from a piece of paper? Because this is a serious thing. Tariffs. You are seeing all across the world leaders talking about how tariffs are going to affect their economies. It is going to send the cost of goods up. You're already seeing in the United States, yesterday the chairman of their Fed, which is equivalent of their central bank, saying that it's going to cause inflation in the United States. It's going to cause potential increases in prices. That could affect all of us, and it will. But I can tell you here today, as your Prime Minister leading a competent, intelligent cabinet, that we are prepared to do what is necessary to protect not only Trinidad and Tobago, but the whole CARICOM region. And you have proof of that. This is not a concept. This is not an imagination. You can look at the record and see it. A PNM government versus a UNC government. Credibility, reputation, stability, intelligence, but most importantly, respected. In the last 4 years, your government has gone to the difficult halls and offices in Washington, D.C., and we have established the relationships, and we have a reputation, we have credibility. And I want to say to you all tonight why I am never afraid and never deterred, because I am always fighting on behalf of Trinidad and Tobago. You remember when we started in 2015, the UNC came up with a concept, Minister of Everything, and they used to attack me and insult me, they thought, by calling me the Minister of Everything. Well, tonight I want to tell you They call me the minister of everything. The first visit I made to the White House in Washington, D.C., they always have a file in front of them. They pulled out the file, and you know what they said? They said, Minister Young, we're pleased to meet with you. We understand we have business to discuss. You know, we're looking at your profile that we have here, meaning in their government, which is compiled by their government. And they said, we see you are the minister of everything, so we know you are the person we need to talk to. And that, under the leadership of Dr. Rowley, worked for us. We met with Republicans, we met with Democrats. Dr. Rowley led CARICOM leaders to ensure that they got a meeting with President Biden at the time. We engaged with the United States government. And regardless of who's in power there, we have access to the decision makers because they know, with this PNM government, they know that there is credibility and we have reputations that are stellar, that are good reputations. And every time we go there, it is to ensure that we continue to protect jobs, all our public servants, our electricity rates, our water rates, free hospital care, free education. That is what comes out of it. So the media asked Kamala Persad-Bissessar, who wants to be Prime Minister, what do you have to say about the tariffs imposed by President Trump? You all heard the response? Well, the media asked me about it this morning. The media said, Prime Minister Young, the leader of the opposition's response to US tariffs was that we only got tariffs put on Trinidad and Tobago because of the relationship that Rowley and Young have with President Maduro. That is her response. Go and check it. Once again, Trinidad and Tobago, a complete lie. Because I have here the tariffs that have been imposed by President Trump. We got 10%, which is the lowest tariff. That's the baseline, 10%. China, 34%. The European Union, 20%. Vietnam, 46%. Taiwan, 32%. Japan, 24%. India, 26%. South Korea, 25%. Switzerland, 31%. South Africa, 30%. Israel, 17%. Sri Lanka, 44%. And every CARICOM island or country got 10%, except for Guyana, who got 38%. So Kamala Persad-Bissessar has no problem lying and trying to mislead the population. We got the lowest. So that is how she intends to govern Trinidad and Tobago. I am putting Trinidad and Tobago on continued notice and warning. Last week, Wednesday, you saw Trinidad and Tobago, under me as Prime Minister, Minister Brown as the Foreign Minister, go to Jamaica at the invitation of Secretary of State Marco Rubio, one of the decision makers in Washington, at his invitation for Trinidad and Tobago to have a one-on-one conversation with the Secretary of State of the United States. Did you see the behavior of the UNC? Just before we were going into that meeting, they had a press conference. Again, one of their frontline people, Saddam Hussein, screaming to the world that Young goes to Venezuela 13 times, he meets with Maduro, him and Rowley meeting with Maduro, etc., to try and destroy, not me, you know, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, I am happy to report to you here tonight that that meeting came about because we are respected, we have a good reputation, and everyone knows that we can negotiate on behalf of Trinidad and Tobago and on your behalf. But take God out your thoughts for a moment. Imagine Kamala Persad-Bissessar going to that meeting. Imagine Anil Roberts next to her. Imagine Munilal next to her. Imagine if you make the mistake and Jack jump on the plane to go to the United States. Imagine if some of their financiers who are avoiding extradition for 20 years go with her. Imagine if Barry Padarat goes with her. That is what you have to consider. Imagine if David Lee goes with her, and instead of them saying, well, we see that you are the minister of everything and you have a good reputation. Hold on, sir. You have $1 million bail for misbehavior in public office. Is that who Trinidad and Tobago wants representing them? We have delivered for Trinidad and Tobago. I have made that point. It is your decision to decide. But I use some examples tonight to show you how even at this stage, the UNC's response is to lie, to mislead, to create intentional disharmony, and always an underlying concept of race, including with the bots that Foster spoke about. Allow me now to just remind you very briefly how they will bankrupt Trinidad and Tobago, because I was very careful and I showed you how it would happen with this plan, the National Economic Transformation Master Plan for 2020 to 2025, where the UNC in that plan said they're going to devalue the dollar, where now we know the devaluation is 15 to 1, where now you know, or you should know, that when they devalue us at 15 to 1, every single thing goes up. Everything goes up when you go to the grocery. And you know what's their response to that? Their response to that is to create videos saying young no go to the grocery. That is not going to help anybody here. Their continued lies. They cannot refute it. You heard a short while ago, Larry Lala quote the Business Guardian of this week, Anthony Wilson, who did his own calculations and said that their plans are going to cost 20 billion, 18 billion. Let me tell you how I came up with 20. The back pay at 10% is $6 billion. The recurring cost, meaning how much it will cost every year additionally, is $1 billion. That's $7 billion. At 14%, which is what they want to offer, it is going to cost $8.5 billion in back pay, and an increase every year to us of $1.4 billion. That is $10 billion. They then said they're going to reduce corporation tax. If you do that by 5%, that's $1 billion loss. So not only are they increasing it, they're cutting how much money we make. They're going to remove VAT on all food items when you know that the crucial and critical food items already have no VAT. That could stand to lose $1.5 billion. Property tax, $125 million. You would have seen in the newspapers somebody saying it's a $20 billion cost. They cannot respond to that. So if you take God out of your thoughts and we end up by a devaluation of 15 to 1, their response is, oh, that's an old plan. If it's an old plan, why can't you tell us what your plans are, where I can stand here tonight and tell you in one area, just off of gas, we managed to negotiate on your behalf $38 billion. $38 billion that we would not have seen on behalf of the children of Trinidad to make sure they could go to school with free education, that there's a school feeding program, to make sure CPEP workers are paid, our URP workers are paid, the workers in the local government councils are paid, to make sure doctors, nurses, policemen are paid. We have shown that not only will we increase revenue, and we can increase revenue, that we have the ability to come up with plans to do it. So let me tell you tonight, because I was waiting, like I'm sure many of you were, to hear what was the UNC's response to devaluation and to the fact that they're going to devalue, and worse yet, to the fact that they're going to take us to the IMF. And after I spoke in San Fernando, I realized that many, many young people have no clue what the IMF is, and you don't understand how that will affect you. I am putting Trinidad and Tobago on notice tonight, and young people, go home and ask those who are around in the 1980s about this. A coalition government in 1986 that contained the same elements of the UNC into something called the NAR. You all remember the NAR? The NAR stood up and promised the population no devaluation. Stood up and promised the population no one will lose their job. That same coalition government, and you have another coalition government here, devoid of the ideas to run Trinidad and Tobago, led to the devaluation of the Trinidad and Tobago dollar in April of 1988, led to an IMF program that public servants, beware, it was an immediate cut of 10%, not an addition of 10%. And I am warning you here tonight, that is right where this coalition pick-up side government of the UNC is going to send us. But if you don't believe me, listen to Kamala Prasad Bissessas. Listen to her in the newspaper today, the Saturday Express on page 5, when she was asked, how are you going to fund, how are you going to pay for the bag of poison? Listen to her. Once in government, she said, a UNC government would cut down some of the waste and expenditure to ensure their campaign promises were upheld. We'll do it by cutting out some of the waste and expenditure. A lot of money has been wasted, which you see nothing for. Sounds nice, right? But let me tell you what their track record is, because you have to look at what people do, not what they say. The UNC came in government in 2010 with an annual budget of $44 billion. By the time they left, it was $65 billion, and they were on their way to bankrupting Trinidad and Tobago. Immediately, a PNM government came in and we cut expenses. We kept the country stable. So Trinidad and Tobago, once again, I am warning all. The UNC is going to send us to the IMF. It is going to mean loss of free education, loss of free healthcare. You can't pay for CDAP anymore. Our public servants, the first ones to lose their job would be the contract workers, CPEP, URP, and the contract workers in all of the state entities. That is their plan. She has no plan. I just want to spend a few minutes tonight so you could compare crime. Crime is a very, very big issue for us in Trinidad and Tobago. Crime is something that bothers every citizen in Trinidad and Tobago. You have a government that is not in bed with the criminals. You have a government who is working to address the issues of crime. Let me tell you some of my plans and the vision for how we intend to address these areas of crime, having built on the last 9.5 years of experience. We will appoint, as Prime Minister, I will appoint a National Security Advisor in the Office of the Prime Minister. We're going to establish and strengthen an elite unit, and elite units in the police service, where we're going to make sure they have advanced tactical training, intelligence-led operations, legislate protection for undercover officers, provide them with state-of-the-art equipment and rapid response capability, a dedicated multi-agency task force. We're also going to use advanced forensic science and digital evidence management. We're going to expand the cybercrime task force. We're going to have a rapid response joint task force. We are immediately going to change the law for the appointment of a commissioner of police, because one of the difficulties we faced is not having strategic and stable leadership. That is the first thing we will do as a government. We're going to bolster Foster Cummings' ministry and provide for the youth. There are many items that I'm going to speak to you about and that you will see in our manifesto as we launch it to deal with crime. I would like to wrap up at this stage because we have a speaker who is going to come to speak to us. and give us some important messages. But once again, I have sat with certain ministers and had conversations. And before I leave the stage this evening, I want to tell you what the next PNM government will do for our youth. Because we continue to be concerned about our youth, and in particular our students. Our world has changed. Today's world requires more access to the internet. We are concerned that our young citizens in school and our students need access to the internet to navigate this world. We are concerned that some who may not be able to afford it are going to be left behind. So today, I have consulted with our Minister of Digital Transformation, and we will be communicating with both TSTT and Digicel to immediately reduce the cost of access to data for our young citizens and to give them more access to data. Trinidad and Tobago is not going to let our young people be left behind. They are going to get cheaper and more access to data. Our public healthcare system, we have free healthcare. We've been investing in digitizing and making sure that your records are there to make it more efficient. And Minister Diyal Singh will talk to that. But after consulting with Minister Diyal Singh today and asking him to get more information, the next PNM government, having consideration and concern in particular about our senior citizens, we are going to expand the availability and use of virtual doctor consultations for senior citizens who want to use it, so they don't have to go and sit down waiting in a healthcare center. Because you see, that is how you do it responsibly. You don't say you're going to send doctors to everybody's house. The cost of that, if one doctor could go to 3 different houses in a day, and we introduce for senior citizens who want it, rather than they have to leave their home early in the morning to go and line up and sit down in a healthcare center to wait for hours for a 5-minute consultation. We are going to expand that you can have virtual consultations with your doctor. They have all the records there. They ask you how you're going, and if necessary, you then can go and pick up the drugs or send somebody to pick it up. And that is how a responsible government cares for you. We have a choice to make. It is an easy choice to make. You have seen a responsible PNM government fight for you, negotiate for you, stabilize the country. So on the 28th of April, join Foster Cummins, join Esmond Ford, join Nyan Gatsby Dolly, join Sanjeev Boodoo, join Kareem Marcel, join Terry Diyal Singh, join Hans Devine, and join Renuka Sagram Singh Suklal, and join me, and let us all say, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we have prevailed. Thank you.
A man with energy, always checking for me. Don't let up at all, let's answer when we call.
With ear clapper up, he always vibrant and strong, energetic and young.
Great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail. Trinidad and Tobago, you have seen for yourself what is on offer to you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, as we end our meeting here in Tunapuna. Brothers and sisters, my brother and sister candidates, I ask you to stand wherever you are so that the people of Trinidad and Tobago can see what we have on offer to you. Trinidad and Tobago's finest men and women, Trinidad and Tobago best representatives, every creed and every race. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the People's National Movement. We invite be a part of our party. We invite you to be a part of the movement as we continue on the road to April 28th. Join me in one united voice. Great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM. And on April 28th, we shall prevail.
So don't you know that the PNM is so delivering, Lord? I hear the people them bawling out, screaming out, yo PNM.
Brothers and sisters, we welcome our political leader. We welcome our Prime Minister and all of our candidates here tonight to come before Trinidad and Tobago. Let our country see what is on offer.
Yeah. Tunapuna! Tell them the one and the whoa, mama. Your PNM la 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 whoa, mama. Yeah, dada. Oh, papa. Yeah, dada. All protocol observe. I want to hear every voice. Sing, 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 sing. As a lame. To a pray my soul you keep. If I should die. Yeah. I hope my soul you'll accept. Yeah. Come. For Lucifer is what? Low. Red Army and no job. Pulo. Red Army on the 28th. We only put in all the X. Next June. PNM family. Are you ready? Everybody. Lock it at El Paro. Tunapuna. Come on. So let's do this. Should be a go while you're ready. We rolling with the Red Army. You for the love of your country. Place your vote with it. I need all you. Low. Say, come on, my people. Let's stand together. Underneath the red, white, and black banner, yeah. Burn out corruption like leaves in scatter. Tricks and insult the people, them flattered. The partnership done sick already. We rolling steady with. Right need the right time. I made up my mind. Everybody, say let's.
Well, PNM family, Trinidad and Tobago, you heard for yourself. I told you that this will be a bumper meeting. I have a whole set of notes there, and I hope you will take notes too, because we want you to be informed and to know who you are choosing from April 28th. Heard from Esmond, the Tunapuna man, on board with Ford. Esmond exudes service, passion, ready to serve Tunapuna again. We heard from Larry Nana, a surprise speaker, a recent convert, and you heard from someone in the belly of the UNC. You heard for yourself the dysfunction of that party, unelectable, and you heard that for yourself here tonight in this meeting of education. You heard from Foster Cummings, Minister Foster Cummings, a good man who will not be kept down. He warned us of the dangers of the astroturfing technique that is being employed by the opponents of the PNM, where he spoke to us about inducements that are allegedly being offered to persons to change their vote, not on the basis of information, but simply to gain power. He spoke about the unpatriotic nature of the UNC. All of these notes just from one meeting tonight, and how the UNC, most importantly, remove opportunities for youth. But the PNM is here, ladies and gentlemen. The PNM is here, and we have restarted all of those youth camps. We have been putting emphasis on our young people. And of course, Prime Minister Stuart Young gave us vision for Trinidad and Tobago, PNM style, highlighted that we are sure that people are resorting to fake news in order to sway the population. Also false videos. And we want the population to be aware, be informed that not everything you see with your eyes is real, because the opponents of the PNM are using AI to put things into people's minds that never ever happened. So we need our population to be discerning. Education, we've invested a lot in that. So we need you to use that PNM education that you have gotten. As Larry Lala said, use it to discern between right, wrong, fake, and real. He spoke to us of the UNC's unpatriotic behavior with sandals and with gender investments that would have made a difference to Trinidad and Tobago. He spoke about the question of where is the UNC getting all of this money to run ads. Out of office for over 10 years, or almost 10 years, and yet still we are seeing so much money being spread around. Ads, inducements, it's alleged to persons. Where is that coming from? We have to think about it. And the Prime Minister spoke of some new policies. You would have heard in San Fernando, 15-1 devaluation and IMF, sure to come from what is being postulated by the UNC as policy now. And the Prime Minister spoke to the PNM plan. He spoke about a national security advisor in the office of the Prime Minister. He spoke about strengthening the TTPS and their capacity for data analysis and collection. These are important details as we look up to the crime fight that the PNM is going to lead. He spoke about a change in the law for the appointment of the Commissioner of Police. These are PNM plans and policies being unrolled on our platform, and that's why it's important to pay attention to our PNM meetings. He spoke about boosting the Ministry of Youth Development, again, incredibly important. And he spoke about decreasing the cost of data for our young people. Young people, there are lots of things in store for you. He spoke about virtual consultations for our seniors. So a lot of good, solid plans coming from the PNM platform tonight here in Tunapuna. We are on board with Ford. We are the PNM ready and responsible party, improving lives in a responsible manner. This party is not going to carry us to the IMF. This party is not going to devalue our dollar, but we are going to seek ways to improve the efficiency so that the lives of our citizens are better. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to our next meeting. It will be advertised. Look forward to it and ensure that you pay attention. Come if you will, and if you cannot come, look for the televised broadcast on all of the stations so that you make an informed decision come April 28th. On April 28th, the choice is clear. Cast your vote for the People's National Movement, the party with a plan, the party that is ready, responsible. We are all in for Trinidad and Tobago. We want you to join us. So come out in your numbers at our next meeting. And above all, on April 28th, come out in your numbers and put your X solidly by the value day. Vote for the People's National Movement. Good night and have a wonderful evening.
This is a new chapter. Join us on the road to victory. On Tuesday, April 8th, Point Fortin, the People's National Movement will be having a public meeting at Market Square. We're red, ready, and responsible. Vote PNM. Great is the PNM.